Has this been anybody in this room in the course of your life? Anyone here have road rage? So my question is, does it make any sense whatsoever that you should be screaming at a person in a car that's probably a kilometer away and has no idea that you're mad? It feels good in the moment, does it not, though? Yeah, we think it feels good in the moment. This is the site of emotional memory. Everybody's heard of the fight or flight reflex, yes? Right. Now that was coined 75 years ago. It was coined 75 years ago. We now understand it's actually freeze, flight, and fight, in that order. Freeze effect, everybody knows the deer in the headlights piece, right? Or, please put your hands up if you've ever had a micromanaging boss in the course of your life. Doesn't have to be your boss right now. See all the hands go up now? Right. Chickens. If you've had a micromanaging boss, you realize this next piece that I'm going to say. Your stress started on Sunday, probably around 4 or 5 o'clock. Because you knew you had to go to work with them on Monday. Right? That's part of this freeze effect. It's called hyperarousal. And your body's preparing your baseline levels of stress for the next event, so it doesn't hit you as hard as the first time it happened, right? So this fight or flight reflex, this freeze, fight, and flight reflex, really, really fundamental part of how our physiology works. Now, I want to talk about the anatomy of the amygdala hijack. And I need everybody in the room to really engage what I'm saying. Now, I am an evolutionist. I believe in evolution. So I'm going to use evolutionary terminology and concepts. That being said, there may be folks in this room who don't believe in evolution. You're creationists. So I got a good lesson about 20 years ago. My friend in high school was born-again Christian, and he told me very clearly, he said, Leeno, my family believes Earth was created 5,000 years ago. So I would need this to make sense for Glenn. So what I would say to Glenn, and anybody else say who's creationist, if you have a time period that works for you, when I say 280,000 years ago, in your head, just hear 5,000 years. If I say evolved, in your head, just hear created, and then it's all going to work exactly the same. Okay? Fair? 280-ish thousand years ago, in the sub-Saharan desert in Africa, there are all sorts of little pockets of people. Some survive and become us. Some don't. Some didn't survive and evolve to become us because they lived in areas that became really, really arid, not a lot of water, they couldn't sustain life, they died. Some lived in areas where there were lots of predators, they didn't survive. Some didn't survive because they didn't have an amygdala. This is your fight or flight mechanism, right? This keeps you safe. And the way it keeps you safe is very, very simple. It shuts down your big brain, the part that's responsible for all the thinking, and it makes you run on something else. So way back in the day, let's say there were two pockets of folks. There were the pockets who didn't have an amygdala, and there was the pocket that did have the amygdala. Now these folks over here, Thag and Grog, were sitting in the trees, and Grog says to Thag, let's go down in the tall grass. And Grog doesn't have an amygdala, right? There's no fear response. He says, you know, the elders told us not to go, but sure, let's go. So they started walking in the tall grass. Now, do you think they were walking like this? No amygdala. No emotional memory, no reason to feel fear. So they were walking like this, probably whistling as they went, hands in their pockets. And when the bushes rustled, do you think they ran? No amygdala. Nothing telling them they're not safe. So they probably turned and said, that's really interesting. I wonder what that is. And a saber-toothed tiger jumped out and ate Grog. Thag went running for the trees. Now 2 weeks later, who thinks Thag's going back into the tall grass? Absolutely. No amygdala. Nothing telling him he's not safe. No warning signs. So he walks down into the tall grass, and when the bushes rustle, you know what he says in his head? That is the same exact thing that happened to Grog. And the saber-toothed tiger jumps out and eats him. That's why they're not around anymore. Now, then there was this group over here, the group that becomes us, the one with the amygdalas. Now, Thag and Grog over here, they're sitting in the trees. And Grog says, Thag, let's go down in the tall grass. And Thag says, the elders told us there were some dangerous things in the tall grass. Do you think we should go? And they chatted about it. They decided to go. Because human beings are curious, yes? And they walk down in the tall grass. Do you think they're walking like this? Or are they walking like this? So they have an amygdala, and the elders told them that there were dangerous things. So they're a little more cautious, yeah? When the bushes rustle, they'd never seen the bushes rustle. They don't know what's back there. So they don't necessarily run so quickly, yeah? And so because they don't run, they're a little bit taken aback. Saber-toothed tiger jumps out, eats Grog. Thag goes running for the trees. Now, 2 weeks later, who thinks Thag's going down into the tall bushes? You don't know any teenagers? Teenagers do all kinds of foolish stuff fairly regularly. Let's say Thag's a teenager and he goes back down. Do you think he's walking hands in pocket? Unlikely. His amygdala has him on high alert. He's prepared for the next event. He's in a state of hyperarousal, walking like this. And when the bushes rustle, anyone think he's hanging around to see what's there? He's gone. Yes? So here's my question for the group. Scream out your answer. How many saber-toothed tigers did this Thag see? That's a scream. How many saber-toothed tigers did Thag see? One? He saw two. The one that ate Grog and the one he knows was there. I'm going to prove it to you. Everybody close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close. I'm at the front. I can see you. Close your eyes. I want you to picture a long field with tall golden wheat grass waving back and forth, gently in the breeze. I want you to picture a crystal blue sky in the horizon in the back. Now I want you to picture a pathway that leads all the way from you, all the way to the horizon. Not a paved pathway, a trodden pathway, one where people have walked and walked and walked. I want you to make the pathway about 15 feet wide. Now about 100 meters away from you, in the middle of the path, I want you to picture a tiger. One of today's tigers, the ones we can recognize, slowly coming out of the right-hand side of the path. Only halfway out, halfway in, halfway out. You can make the tiger look at you. You can make the tiger open its mouth. Everybody got a tiger with an open mouth in front of you? Okay, open your eyes. You saw it in color and you saw it in 3D. It's the way our brains work. You saw it in color and you saw it in 3D. And when Thag saw the bushes rustling, his brain showed him a saber-toothed tiger. And the reason being, there could be no confusion for him. If it's not a tiger, if parts of his brain are saying, hey, Thag, maybe it's a duck, he might not run, right? So in that moment, his brain tells him one thing very quickly: either you eat it or it eats me. That's it. Makes the decision, and he bolts. Everybody with me? Is this making good sense? Beautiful. The human brain, pretty complex. We'll simplify it a little bit. Does everybody here know somebody in life maybe really, really brilliant? Hands up for people who know someone in your life who's brilliant. Just want to see. Yes, we all have that framework, right? We have that frame of reference. We know someone who's just brilliant. Either brilliant at math or brilliant on a hockey rink, or someone who just is able to excel beyond other people. Does anybody here know someone in your life who's maybe not the sharpest tack in the bag? That tells me you do. I have someone at the back going, I do. Now here's the way we understand the human brain for the most part, as simply put as I can make it. 6 or 7 plus or minus 2. 6 or 7 plus or minus 2 bits of information is the complexity that your big neocortex can manage information, complex information. So, and it's not 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. It's 1 times 2 times 3 times 4. So it's 6 and 7 bits of information, which is the average human being. At 6 bits, it's 720 complex things you can engage in a moment. That's your big neocortex. At 7 bits, you're up at 5,040. It's a massive computer, this big neocortex, what we have here. Now, if everybody just watches my hand, it's brainstem, amygdala and limbic system. Up over here is your hippocampus, yes? Deep memory. And over here, neocortex, your prefrontal lobe. That's the working memory. This is all the big stuff that you do really kind of come from here. Now, when your amygdala hijacks the front lobe of your brain because you're feeling not so good about the moment, you can drop down really, really fast. From all this complexity into, do I eat it or does it eat me? Now, maybe the not so bright folks, the 4s and the 5s, 12 or 24, 120. Now, the brilliant folks we're talking about here, the ones who can just really, in a heartbeat, complexity. Anybody here hockey fan? A few? At 9 bits of information up there, that's Wayne Gretzky. And Ty Domi's somewhere around 550, 40. And I like Ty Domi. I think he's great, but he ain't Wayne Gretzky. So these are the capacities that we're talking about, right? Now, in a heartbeat, if you're feeling put down, if you're feeling let down, shut down, threatened, that beautiful brain, say I'm one of these guys, and Laura starts picking on my driving. And I drop down to 2 in 0.85 milliseconds. You know what the 2 is, right? Do I eat it or does it eat me? So let's assume, I want to give you a visual because people like visuals.